Hey guys, what's up? All right, so here's an autumn leaves tutorial for autumn leaves for jazz piano. I'm going to do it in G minor. Sometimes people do this in E minor as well as other random keys that can happen as well, of course, with singers, you know, it could be any key that could come up. But anyway, I'm going to do it in G minor. It's Glenn here from jazzpianolessons.online. So let's get into it for this tutorial of autumn leaves. All right, so normally I put kind of notation up and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to bother doing that today. Let's just see how we go. We're talking and playing some notes. All right, so the first, here's how it goes. Then you can do some improvising. All right, so we'll talk a little bit about the improvising in a little bit. All right, so the melody there is pretty straightforward. I mean, you can read, you know, if you're playing jazz at this standard anyway, at this kind of a level, you can at least read or hear enough to be able to work out the melody. So I'm not going to go through the melody with you. You know, here's the melody. The same pattern kind of. All right, that's the first part, right? So anyway, there's a typical ba-da sort of. I don't really bother doing that most of the time. I've got to say that I kind of probably have heard that too much. It's probably the only reason why I don't do that, but that's kind of the standard thing. It's at least worth knowing that because, you know, you might be playing one of your first gigs and, you know, you've got the bass player, but where am I? Yeah, it's not really working, is it, on the camera? You've got the bass player playing along and he says, you know, hey, should we do the, you know, those typical hits? You know, that's the hits. But I kind of just do whatever I feel like there, you know, and sometimes hint at it maybe a little bit as you do that. All right. Chord-wise, we've got a 2-5-1 in B flat, and then I guess you can kind of think of it as a 2-5-1-4 in B flat. The other way to think of it, no, that's probably the best way to think of it. 2-5-1-4 in B flat. So in B flat is the 2 is going to be a C minor, F7, B flat major 7. E flat major 7, all right, so there's your first start. So it's a 2-5, or you could even probably get away with just 2-5-1 and B flat, right? Not B flat, E flat, but it's B flat, E flat is the original, right? So, so a C minor 7, F7, B flat major 7, E flat major 7. The chords that I did just then, I was using a B, what I call a B voicing, where I'm starting with the 7th voicing, the 7th note of the chord, 7, 9, 3, 5. You notice I'm not even playing the root note there, even though I don't have a bass player with me. Sometimes I do that. Kind of works anyway, right? So I'm doing that, and then I'm swapping to what I call the A voicing, and I'm only going to move the one note. I'm going to move the B flat to an A. That's all I'm doing. And all of a sudden, we turn into C minor 9. By moving this one note, I get an F13, all right? So here's my 3 and 7 from my F chord. Here's the 13, and there's the 9. All right, so F13, right? So, all right, it's got a nice sound to it, doesn't it? That's, you know, that's quite cool. You could change your hands, because you've got time to do that, and play the same chord and play a bass note. That could kind of work too, right? You could do some other things there. You could play that voicing there, and then you could add something for colour. There's the 9, which becomes the 13 if you leave that there. You could use the 1-7, 1-3, 1-2, 1 7, 1 3 in the left hand. Now, particularly they're great for playing when you're playing solo piano, right? So the 1 7, the 1 3, 1 7. If you've got big hands, instead of doing 1 3, do 1 10. All right, so just in other words, putting the 1 down an octave, so you can kind of get this kind of a sound. I don't have big enough hands. All right, you'd get that sound, right? So it'd be like this. We're up to B flat. It kind of spells out the chord a little bit. Sometimes you're left with just one note that you can kind of do. Now, notice that the melody is the 3rd there, and then it becomes the 7th of the F chord. So you can actually get away with, in your left hand, 1 7, 1 3, because the melody is actually the other note. It's exactly the same thing here. It's the 3rd for the B flat chord, and it's the 7th for the E flat chord. So you can get away with that as well. But it's probably a little bit sparse, all right? So there's another way to do it. I'm doubling up there on the 7th and 3rd. All right, there's another way to do it. All right, now we're going 2 5 1 in the key of G minor. Now, when you're doing a 2 5 in a minor key, your second chord is a minor 7 flat 5. You know, that's if it's doing, you know, exactly the right thing. And then the 5th chord, if you're using the 9th, is typically going to be a flat 9, right? Now, you can play a sharp 9 or a normal 9 anyway, just to create some different colour that the listener is not really expecting, right? So where are we up to? Here's the A minor 7 flat 5 that I usually play, all right? When I'm playing this one, or you could do that, going to the D7 flat 9, sharp 9 maybe, kind of sounds cool, right? I'm going to use that chord. I'm going to go to a D7 sharp 9, but with a sharp 5 as well. G minor. All right. Now, what you can do, one thing that I think is really nice when you're playing Autumn Leaves is you can think about the tritone substitutes, you know, as you're going through there. Instead of doing C, F, B flat, you can go down chromatically. C, B minor, C, B7, B major 7, right? If that makes sense, right? E flat major 7 probably, A minor 7, A flat 7. Now, often it's the same chord. Now, sometimes I actually play the different bass note. So like you know, for F7, sometimes I'll play a B7, but I'll keep an F, you know, down the bottom, right? So you can have F. That's my F13, right? If I do the tritone substitute, these notes are going to change, right? But if I just change the bass note, I can get some kind of cool stuff going on as well. It creates some altered notes without you needing to even think about that they're actually altered, right? So what that is, you know, that's the F13 over B. You can think of it like that if you want to, all right? But the other way to think of it is that you're doing a sharp 9, right? So there's the normal 9, right? And you're doing a sharp 5. So you can think of it like that if you want to. So basically I'm playing B7 sharp 9 sharp 5, right? And then you can do it the other way around too. You know, you can play the there's the C minor. You can play the you know, a B chord, right? I might do that, or B13. I'll play B13, right? But you can play the F note, right? And then so that's kind of cool too. That just means you're doing a sharp 5. And you're doing, what am I doing? And a sharp 9 as well, right? So you can kind of do it the other way around as well, right? That's one way to kind of do it. Going to chuck in a bass note here. Another bass note. Now to memorise this, the chord progression, it's not too hard because you're doing 2-5-1 key of B flat with a 4, right? Then you do a 2-5-1 in the key of G minor, and B flat major and G minor are related to each other, right? And then the bridge, not the bridge, well the B section, right? The second section, this bit. All right, it starts with the 2-5-1 in the G minor, right? And then it does the 2-5-1 again, 2-5-1-4 in the B flat. So it just changes the order of it, right? So what are we up to? B flat, E flat, back to the 2-5-1 in the G minor. All right, now, and here I'm just going to go down chromatically. G minor 7, F sharp is what I'm playing, an F sharp 7 here. F minor, B flat, E flat. Now we're going to do that 2-5-1 in G minor again. All right, now in terms of soloing, things that you could do, of course you can walk the bass, you know, as you're doing stuff there as well. All right, so I've got other videos on that as well, but I'm not going to talk about it today. But let's talk about soloing over this particular piece of music. Probably the first thing I would think about is that you should solo. Think about the two main keys that this piece of music's in. Right, so G minor and B flat. Right, so they're closely related, so they're going to have similar notes all the time anyway. Right, so B flat major, they're the notes that we're going to use for the C minor 7, F7 and B flat major 7, right? And the E flat major 7. And then the G minor is going to be that. Sometimes the F when you're playing the G minor chord, right? When you're playing the D chord, you want to be playing the F sharp. All right, so now you probably don't want to think of it as just B flat major 7 and just G minor, because then where the 1 is and where the 3 is and where the 5 and 7, all that kind of stuff is a little bit different. So you probably do want to think of it more in terms of chord by chord by chord, but it's at least helpful to think, especially if you haven't been playing for that long, it's helpful to think that the first 4 bars is in the key of B flat, and then the second 4 bars is in the key of G minor, right? Hopefully that helps you there, okay? So, but I'm thinking, what I'm doing here, I'm thinking C minor 7, I'm thinking C Dorian, all right? When I go to the F7, I'm thinking F mixolydian. Here's my C Dorian. It's just C major, B flat major scale, but starting on C and finishing on C. And then I think about the chords, right? So, if it's worth kind of practicing the arpeggio, C minor arpeggio, right? You might want to chuck in the 9. You can kind of do that. And that 9 kind of works really nicely there too, right? So it's worth kind of practicing the scale, then the arpeggio, and then I would maybe do something like that, which is going to be helpful. I'll look at my hands for a second. All right, something like that might be helpful as well, right? So then go to the F7, do the same kind of thing, right? The F mixolydian, which is just, again, it's B flat major scale, but your F becomes the center, right? Practice the arpeggio. Right. It's worth noting too when you're soloing too, thinking about soloing, is you really need to know what are called the guide tones, and I've done a video on that before, how to use the guide tones to solo. But we really need to know where the guide tones are, so you know where B flat, and the guide tones are, just quickly, are 3 and 7 of each chord, right? So for the C minor 7, it's the E flat and the B flat. Right, for the F, it's the E flat and the A. So if I was starting on the B flat, when I change chords, here's the 7 of the B flat, here's the 3 of the E flat, 7, 3, 7, right? So I've literally just come down the guide tones to make a melody out of that, right? Now, I could start the other one, the E flat, stay there because that's the 7, 3 of the B flat, 7 of the E flat, 3, what am I up to? The D, that's the 7, G minor, that's the 3 of the G minor, right? So now typically I'm not going to play down that, right, as I go, but I'm going to use the 3 and the 7 quite regularly as places to maybe start a phrase and finish a phrase. Have a listen to this. All right, I finished that B flat. I finished on the B flat chord, right? And I finished on the A. I'm going to finish on the D this time, right, instead. I can't play the same notes. I can't remember what I just did. All right, there's the B flat, right? Finishing on the D. Okay, so that's something you can do. The guide tones will get you out of trouble anytime. If you know them really, really well, they will get you out of trouble every single time, right? That's just, super important part of playing jazz, right? Now, of course, you're using your ears as well when you're trying to improvise. But this is the theory behind why it kind of sounds good, right? So, in reality, what I do is that I use my ears, I use my music theory, and even, and sadly, but it's just reality, is that I let my fingers kind of just do what they want to do sometimes as well, right? So there's a little bit of rote learning that I just kind of let happen, I suppose. I try not to do that. I try and be creative and think of something new each time. But that's not always possible, and so at least if something's being played that sounds good, at least that's good, isn't it? Right? Okay. All right. So let's. How about I play through a bit of a solo? Maybe you can get some ideas from that. 2, 3, 4. I'm going to use a bit of tritone kind of stuff. So it's a little bit outside. All right, here comes an F chord, but I'm going to play B and resolve in the B flat. Some chromatic stuff. Thirds going up. Bit of chromatic. Hopefully that gives you a couple of ideas there. Obviously we can't learn all of soloing in one go, all right, but we're going to do many more videos. Subscribe, and hopefully I can be of some help to you guys in the future. All right, all the best. See ya.